The alien delegates cowered like frightened younglings under the shadow of the new Voldari threat. But the humans stood tall. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered in the Galactic Council chambers for an emergency session. Normally a place of measured diplomacy and subtle power plays, today the Grand Hall was filled with open panic. Whispers of a terrifying new adversary echoed off the vaulted ceiling as delegates traded nervous glances. The powerful Zanari Empire was first to address the assembled races. Hydrus, the Emperor's top advisor, stepped up to the central podium. His blue scales shimmered as he solemnly began his report. The hostile force calls itself the Voldari Dominion. In a matter of days, they have conquered and enslaved over a dozen worlds. Hydrus clicked his forked tongue grimly. Their ships are enormous, their weapons destructive beyond imagining. Our best intelligence indicates the Voldari are a vicious, warlike species with technology far surpassing any known race. They will not stop until the entire galaxy is under their control. A shocked silence hung heavy over the chamber for a long moment. Then it shattered as the Galactic Council erupted into chaos. "We must surrender immediately," the Jevrax delegate wailed, eye stalks quivering. "Better to live as slaves than be slaughtered." "The Voldari will burn our worlds," the Insectoid Zix representative chittered in despair. "We have to flee, abandon our systems before they kill us all." "Enough!" Hydrus slapped a webbed hand on the podium, silencing the clamor. "I have seen what the Voldari do to those who resist. Struggle is futile. They cannot be stopped by any force in this galaxy." "That's where you're wrong," a quiet voice cut through the hopelessness. Hundreds of eyes turned to see a lone figure standing at the edge of the human delegation's platform. Roger Tucker, Earth's representative on the council. He met the sea of stares calmly, his strange, flat face unreadable. "Earth will not cower from this threat," Roger declared. "Even now, the fleets of the United Terran Space Command are preparing for war. We will take the fight to the Voldari and break the chains of any world that calls for aid." A susurration of clicks and chirps swept the chamber as the Galactic Council struggled to process the humans' impossible words. Some delegates trilled the haunting laughter of the soon-to-be dead. Most looked at Roger as if he'd gone mad. Hydrus shook his crested head slowly. "You humans know nothing of this galaxy. The Voldari have never tasted defeat. You cannot stand against them alone." Roger met the Zanari's pitying gaze with unwavering brown eyes. When he spoke again, his alien mouth curled up at the edges in what humans called a smile. "The Voldari have conquered 100 helpless civilizations, but they've never fought humans before." Roger's smile turned hard and cold. "We don't know how to bow. We don't know how to beg, and we don't know how to lose." He looked out over the chamber, taking in the varied faces of a galaxy that had given up. "You think this is the end, but it's only the beginning. Watch and witness what free humans do when the odds are impossible. We're going to show you how to win." With that, Roger Tucker turned on his heel and strode from the council meeting. He had a war to plan and a galaxy to save. The human didn't look back once as the first shots of defiance were fired. But if he had, he would have seen the fear and resignation slowly transforming to something else on the faces of the delegates. Something most of them had never dared feel before. He would have seen the first embers of hope. Roger Tucker strode onto the bridge of the TCS Indomitable, his boots ringing on the deck. The ship's senior officers snapped to attention as he approached the central holotable where Admiral Jonah Prescott waited. "Report," Roger said curtly, joining Prescott. The Admiral tapped a control and a star map flared to life above the table. "Latest intelligence places the main Voldari fleet here, in the Kepler 186 system." Prescott pointed at an angry red cluster of dots. "They're hitting the Keplians hard. We're already getting distress calls begging for a miracle." Roger leaned in, studying the map. The Keplians, a gentle bug-like species known for their art and philosophy, not warfare. They wouldn't last a week against Voldari aggression. "The Voldari will enslave their entire civilization and use their resources to fuel the war machine," Roger growled. "We can't let that happen. This is our chance to hit those alien bastards where it hurts. Prescott nodded grimly. My thoughts exactly. I've got a plan, but it's risky. We take the Indomitable and her battle group and go right up the Voldari's nose. Hit them with everything we've got and scatter their damn fleet. The Admiral looked up, meeting Roger's gaze. While we keep them busy, I need you to lead a commando team to board the enemy command ship. Cut the head off the snake by taking out their leader. It's the only way to really stop them. Roger's mouth quirked in a fierce smile. I know just the snake eaters for the job, sir. Let me round up my guys, and we'll give the Voldari a little present from Earth. Goddamn right we will. Prescott clasped Roger's shoulder. Let's show these alien pukes what humans are made of. An hour later, Roger stood in the Indomitable's armory, looking over his hand-picked squad of Terran Vanguard commandos. A dozen men, each one honed into a lethal weapon. They sported sleek black power armor, reactive scales sliding over corded muscles, pulse rifles, plasma grenades, monomolecular blades, the best killing tools Terran ingenuity could create. Sergeant John Reaper Davis caught Roger's eye and grinned. The man chewed a toothpick as he casually twirled a vicious-looking combat knife. I heard we're finally getting a real fight, sir. About time we stuck it to some bad guys. Stow that shit, Marine, Roger growled, but there was no heat in it. Reaper wasn't wrong. The men were eager to see action after months of drilling and waiting. You'll get your chance, Reaper. We're going to board the Voldari head honcho's ship and shove a grenade up his ass till he gurgles Uncle Sam. The Vanguard whooped and slapped their armor, the sound echoing like a promise of violence. Roger smiled coldly. Poor alien sons of bitches wouldn't know what hit them. The deck shuddered as the Indomitable lurched out of hyperspace, signaling the start of the battle. Alarms blared and crewmen scrambled to stations throughout the warship. On the bridge, Admiral Prescott watched grimly as the vanguard of the Voldari fleet swam into view. Ugly ships, all spikes and jagged edges, built for cruelty and pain. They spat lances of searing plasma at the Indomitable, hammering her shields. All batteries, return fire, Prescott barked. The Terran flagship shuddered as a salvo of screaming railgun rounds blasted from her flanks, bright tracer streaks flashing across the void to smash into the Voldari ships. Hulls buckled and split, spilling gouts of flame. The Terrans and Voldari closed into a brutal knife fight, ships dancing and whirling as they pounded each other. The Indomitable bulled right into the heart of the enemy, her escorts fanning out to engage the flanks. It was a maelstrom of flaring plasma and exploding metal as the two fleets tore into each other with vicious abandon. Amidst the chaos, a small assault craft shot from the Indomitable's hangar bay, cloaking as it cleared the shields. In the cockpit, Roger Tucker gripped the controls, teeth bared in the rictus grin of an apex predator. The pinnace jinked and wove, sliding between Voldari ships and darting through clouds of shrapnel unscathed. Roger guided the craft with preternatural skill, a ghost flitting past the raging battle. The boxy bulk of a Voldari cruiser loomed before them, spitting fire in all directions. There's our ticket, boys, Roger called over the comm. Get tactical. Reaper, pop us a door if you'd be so kind. In the pinnace's troop bay, the Vanguard braced themselves. Reaper hefted a monster of a weapon, all glowing coils and whining capacitors. The pinnace shivered as the magnetic clamps thunked home on the cruiser's armored hull. Reaper shouldered his weapon and squeezed the trigger. A pencil-thin beam of ravening energy lanced out, searing through the metal like lightning through tin foil. The hull peeled back instantly, glowing edges melting and running molten. Knock, knock, you scaly freaks, Reaper hollered as he leapt through the glowing breach, weapon up and seeking. The rest of the Vanguard poured after him, power armor thudding on the decking. An alarm shrilled as the Voldari responded to the intrusion. A pressure door hissed open, and a squad of hulking reptilian warriors boiled through, hissing and chittering. They lowered strange, organic-looking rifles that pulsed with eerie green light. Roger landed in a combat crouch, raised his pulse rifle, and opened fire in one smooth motion. Strobing blue bolts stitched a gruesome line across a Voldari's chest, exploding its scales in a welter of emerald gore. More aliens fell as the vanguard added their fire, cutting the defenders down. Reaper stepped over the twitching corpses, knife in hand. "Sector clear," he reported. "Which way to the bridge, sir?" Roger pulled up a schematic of Voldari ship layouts on his HUD, then pointed down the corridor branching starboard. "That way. Double time, Vanguard. We need to put this overgrown lizard in the ground before he slaughters any more innocents." The humans set off at a run, booted feet pounding the alien metal. They advanced relentlessly through the bowels of the enemy ship, gunning down every Voldari in their path with merciless efficiency. Roger led the way, rifle up and eyes narrowed, an unflinching force of human vengeance made manifest. They were going to end this, here, now, no matter the consequences. Roger and his team burst through the final security door, railguns blazing. Voldari bodies dropped in their wake as the humans stormed onto the command deck. "Reaper security systems," Roger barked. Sergeant Davis slammed a data spike into the nearest console. Screens flickered and alarms cut out as the Voldari systems went dark. "We're in, sir, but they know we're here." Roger nodded grimly. "Then let's move. Bridge is this way." The vanguard pushed forward through twisting corridors. Sudden plasma fire erupted from a side passage. Private Chen screamed as a bolt caught him in the leg, melting through his armor. "Contact left!" Corporal Zhang shouted, laying down suppressing fire. Roger dragged Chen to cover as Reaper lobbed a pulse grenade around the corner. The blast was followed by alien shrieks. "Push through," Roger ordered. The humans advanced relentlessly, their precise railgun bursts dropping Voldari soldiers with each rattling volley. But the aliens kept coming, hulking forms charging with razor claws extended. A massive Voldari warrior smashed through a bulkhead, catching Zhang with a sweeping blow that crumpled his chest plate. Roger's rifle cracked repeatedly, stitching holes across the alien's armored hide until it finally collapsed. "Man down!" Reaper yelled, pulling Zhang clear. Roger gritted his teeth. Half his team was down, but they had to keep moving. They fought their way through chamber after chamber of Voldari defenders. Railgun fire and plasma bolts crisscrossed in deadly arcs. The air filled with the stench of ozone and alien blood. Finally, they reached the bridge. The reinforced doors stood sealed before them. "Last charge," Reaper said, slapping explosives on the door. "Fire in the hole." The blast ripped the doors apart. Roger led the charge through billowing smoke onto the Voldari command deck. And there he saw it, the warlord. The monstrosity towered over them, a nightmare of fangs and metal. Multiple arms bristled with deadly weaponry. An energy shield shimmered around its massive form. "Open fire," Roger roared. The remaining vanguard unleashed everything they had. Railguns, plasma launchers, and pulse grenades hammered the warlord in a storm of destruction. But when the barrage ended, the creature still stood, unharmed behind its impenetrable shield. A guttural laugh emerged from the warlord's maw. With a gesture, security drones swarmed from hidden ports in the walls and ceiling. "Fall back!" Roger shouted as plasma fire filled the air. The humans retreated under withering fire. Roger's mind raced. How could they take down that shield? "Sir, the hangar!" Reaper yelled, gesturing to an access hatch. "If we can get that thing into vacuum..." Roger nodded. It was their only shot. "Cover me," he ordered, then turned to face the advancing warlord. "Hey, ugly! Your mother was a gecko!" The alien roared in fury, charging after Roger as he ducked through the hatch. Reaper and the two remaining vanguard provided covering fire, holding off the drones. Roger sprinted down the corridor, the warlord in pursuit. He burst onto the hangar deck just as the massive bay doors began to iris open. Klaxons blared as the atmosphere vented explosively into space. The warlord's shield flickered and died in the vacuum. Roger spun, rifle raised, one chance to end this. Suddenly, space lit up as the battle outside reached its peak. A blinding flash seared Roger's eyes as stray weapons fire raked across the open hangar. He stumbled, momentarily blinded, as return fire from the Terran fleet slammed into the Voldari ship. Roger blinked away the spots in his vision as the hangar bay erupted into chaos. Stray weapons fire from the battle outside sliced through the vacuum, searing holes in the deck plating. The Voldari warlord loomed before him, its energy shield flickering and dying in the airless void. "Now's our chance," Roger bellowed over the comm. "Take that bastard down!" But before the vanguard could react, a wave of invisible force slammed into them. Roger felt his boots leave the deck as the psionic shockwave hurled him backwards. He slammed hard against a bulkhead, the impact rattling his teeth even through his power armor. Struggling to his feet, Roger saw the warlord moving with unnatural speed. Its massive bulk belied its agility as it crossed the hangar in seconds. Razor-sharp claws raked across Roger's chest plate, leaving deep gouges in the armor. Roger grunted in pain as the alien's grip tightened around his torso. Warnings flashed across his HUD as the suit's integrity began to fail under the crushing pressure. He struggled to break free, but the warlord's cybernetic limbs were like steel vices. "Commander!" Corporal Jenkins' voice crackled over the comm. "Hang on, sir!" Roger caught a glimpse of Jenkins and Ramirez sprinting across the hangar deck. They each clutched handfuls of gel mines, maglocks glowing as they prepped the explosives. With reckless bravery, the two vanguards leapt onto the warlord's back. Their mag boots clanged against its armored hide as they scrambled to plant the mines. The alien roared in fury, releasing Roger to swat at the humans clinging to its body. "Now!" Jenkins yelled. A rapid series of detonations rocked the hangar. Roger's visor auto-polarized as blinding flashes erupted across the warlord's form. When the glare faded, he saw the monster reeling, two of its arms reduced to smoking stumps. Seizing the opportunity, Roger sprinted for a fallen vanguard. He scooped up the soldier's massive plasma rifle, priming the weapon as he whirled to face the warlord. The alien recovered quickly, its remaining arms lashing out in vicious swipes. Roger ducked and rolled, feeling the wind of the attacks as they passed mere inches from his helmet. He came up firing, hosing the warlord with searing plasma bolts. The monster's armor bubbled and ran like wax under the sustained barrage. It howled in agony, a sound that set Roger's teeth on edge even through the vacuum. With a final desperate lunge, the warlord surged forward. Roger stood his ground. As the alien's maw gaped wide, he jammed the rifle's muzzle between its razor-sharp teeth and squeezed the trigger. A lance of pure energy erupted from the back of the warlord's skull. For a moment, its eyes blazed with hatred. Then the light faded, and its massive bulk crashed to the deck. Panting heavily, Roger surveyed the carnage. Warning klaxons blared as atmosphere vented from multiple hull breaches. He waved to the surviving vanguard. "We need to move. Seal that airlock and let's get the hell out of here." They had barely secured the hatch when a massive impact rocked the ship. Admiral Prescott's voice cut through the static on Roger's comm. "Tucker, we're finishing this fight. Get to these coordinates for immediate extraction. Move your ass, soldier." Roger led his battered team through the ship's corridors. They encountered pockets of Voldari resistance, but the aliens fought with confused desperation now that their leader was dead. The humans cut through them ruthlessly, driven by the urgency of Prescott's orders. They reached the extraction point just as another salvo from the Indomitable slammed into the Voldari vessel. Roger herded his team into the waiting shuttle, slamming the hatch control as soon as the last man was aboard. The tiny craft rocketed away from the doomed warship. Through the viewscreen, Roger watched as the Voldari behemoth was consumed in a massive fireball. The Indomitable's guns had found their mark at last. As they rendezvoused with the Terran fleet, Roger saw Voldari ships breaking formation, scattering in all directions. On the comm channels, human voices cheered as news of the warlord's death spread. Roger allowed himself a grim smile. They'd bloodied the Voldari's nose today, but this was just the beginning. The real war was only just starting. The Terran fleet limped back to Kepler 186, a ragtag assemblage of battered warships and scorched civilian transports. Roger Tucker stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable, watching the procession of vessels creep into orbit around the liberated world. His hands clenched the railing, squeezing hard beneath his gloves. "Commander Tucker, report to the war room. Admiral Prescott's voice crackled over the intercom. Roger tore his gaze from the viewport and strode through the ship's corridors. Crewmen rushed past, their faces etched with exhaustion. The smell of ozone and burnt circuitry lingered in the air. The war room buzzed with activity as Roger entered. Holographic displays flickered, showing star systems and fleet movements. Admiral Prescott stood at the center, his weathered face illuminated by the cyan glow. "At ease, Commander," Prescott said, gesturing for Roger to join the circle of grim-faced officers. "We've won a battle, but the war rages on. The Voldari have intensified their assault across multiple sectors." The Admiral tapped a control, and the hologram zoomed out to reveal a galactic map. Red indicators pulsed across vast swathes of space. "The Centauri Confederation has fallen," Prescott continued, his voice heavy. "Rigel Prime is under siege. The Andromeda Alliance—" He paused, fists tightening. "We lost contact 3 days ago." Roger's stomach churned as he processed the information. "Sir, what I saw aboard that Voldari ship, it was a slaughterhouse. They're not just conquering, they're harvesting." He recounted the horrors he'd witnessed. Dissection labs filled with alien corpses, processing plants grinding sentient beings into raw materials. The other officers shifted uncomfortably, faces pale in the hologram's light. "They won't stop," Roger concluded. "Not until every free species is crushed under their heel." Admiral Prescott nodded grimly. "Which is why we're hitting them where it hurts. Intelligence has identified their primary supply route. We're sending in a strike team to sever it." Roger stepped forward. "I volunteer to lead the mission, sir." "I thought you might," Prescott replied. "Assemble your team. You leave in 6 hours." The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. Roger handpicked his squad, a mix of hardened veterans from Kepler and eager recruits itching for payback. They loaded up on cutting-edge stealth gear and enough firepower to level a small moon. As Roger performed final checks on his armor, a hand clasped his shoulder. He turned to see Sarah Chen, his second-in-command from the Kepler raid. "Ready for another dance with death, Commander?" she asked, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Roger nodded. "Let's make it count this time." The strike team boarded their stealth insertion craft, a sleek black vessel designed to slip past even the most advanced Voldari sensors. As the airlock sealed, Roger took one last look at the fleet that had become his home. "Godspeed, Vanguard!" Admiral Prescott's voice crackled over the comm. "Give 'em hell!" The insertion craft detached from the Indomitable, its stealth systems engaged. They accelerated towards their target coordinates, the stars blurring into streaks of light. Hours later, they emerged from FTL on the edge of a vast debris field. The wreckage of countless ships, both Terran and alien, formed a choking maze of twisted metal and frozen corpses. "Holy shit!" Private Rodriguez whispered, peering out the viewport. "It's a graveyard." Roger's lips pursed. "Stay sharp. This is Voldari territory now." They navigated through the debris, scanners on full alert. Suddenly, alarms blared as shapes detached from nearby hulks. "Scavenger drones!" Sarah shouted. "Evasive maneuvers!" The insertion craft dove and weaved through the wreckage as Voldari drones swarmed after them, energy weapons lashing out. A bolt struck their port engine, sending them into a wild spin. "We're hit," the pilot yelled. "Losing containment." Roger grabbed a nearby handhold as the cabin depressurized. "Helmets on! Prepare for emergency evac!" The team scrambled to seal their armor as the insertion craft broke apart around them. Roger caught a glimpse of Rodriguez, his eyes wide with terror as he was sucked out into the void, his helmet unsealed. The surviving Vanguard activated their thruster packs, scattering to avoid the drone's fire. Roger watched in horror as Corporal Zhang's suit ruptured, the soldier's body bloating grotesquely before his eyes. "Push through," Roger ordered, his voice tight. "We have a mission to complete." They fought their way deeper into the debris field, using the wreckage for cover as they picked off the pursuing drones. After what felt like hours of desperate combat, they finally spotted their target. A massive structure loomed before them, cobbled together from the remains of countless ships. Voldari transport vessels swarmed around it like insects, ferrying in fresh wreckage and departing with newly forged war materials. "That's it," Roger transmitted to his remaining team. "The processing station. Let's end this." They used their stealth tech to infiltrate the facility, slipping past patrols of hulking Voldari guards. As they penetrated deeper, the true horror of the operation revealed itself. Enslaved aliens of various species toiled in nightmarish conditions, their bodies augmented with crude cybernetics to increase their efficiency. Massive furnaces roared, melting down wreckage and bodies alike to fuel the Voldari war machine. "We need to shut this down," Sarah growled, her voice thick with rage. Roger nodded, pointing towards a pulsing energy signature at the heart of the station. "The main reactor. If we overload it, this whole place goes up in smoke." They fought their way to the reactor core, leaving a trail of Voldari corpses in their wake. As Sarah and the others laid down covering fire, Roger worked to sabotage the containment systems. Alarms blared throughout the facility as the reactor began to destabilize. Voldari voices screeched evacuation orders over the loudspeakers. "That's it, we're done," Sarah shouted. "Let's get out of here." But Roger shook his head, his hands still working furiously at the controls. "No, someone needs to stay behind to ensure total detonation. Get the team to minimum safe distance." Sarah hesitated, then nodded sharply. "It's been an honor, Commander." As his team retreated, Roger continued his work, sweat beading on his brow beneath his helmet. The reactor core pulsed with barely contained energy, the chamber shaking around him. Roger activated his comm one last time. "This is Commander Tucker. Mission accomplished. Remember what we fought for. Remember—" A blinding flash engulfed him, cutting off his final words. The processing station erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, igniting a chain reaction that tore through the debris field. The Voldari supply line was shattered, along with their dreams of easy conquest. In the war rooms of the Terran fleet, the news of Roger's sacrifice spread quickly. Faces hardened with fresh persistence, the pain of loss tempered by the fire of righteous fury. The human spirit, tested but unbroken, burned brighter than ever in the face of alien tyranny.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.